You might think this is a plane from the future, or at least the past version of the future.
It reminds me of the vehicles they used in Star Wars, the land speeders that floated just above the icy surface of Hoth.
But this is technically a boat. It's registered as a marine craft, but it spends most of its time in the air. And it's powered by a car engine. So what is it? Well, the answer is in Singapore.
The Airfish is basically a boat that can fly. It has wings, and like any aircraft, the pressure above the wing is actually lower than below, and that's what gives lift to any aircraft.
The Airfish can only be operated safely and legally on water, and that makes it a marine vessel. It flies just above the water, exploiting something called the wig effect. Nothing to do with toupees. It stands for wing in ground.
When an airplane starts to fly, when it's close to the ground, it's easier to fly because there's kind of a cushion of air between the wing and the ground.
A plane can fly more efficiently just above land or even water, thanks to increased lift and decreased drag. When a wing flies low enough over a surface, the air between is more tightly squashed, which increases lift. Wings also create drag, caused by vortices, swirling columns of air that slow the craft down. But close to a surface, these vortices can get interrupted, and drag can be reduced. Clever birds like the albatross know all about this science. It conserves energy.
Because of the reduced drag, these ground effect vehicles can be more efficient than planes, and they can also be much faster than boats because they're not having to force their way through the incredibly dense water.
It helps the Airfish hit 80 knots, over 90 miles an hour, using less fuel than a boat, but without the huge cost of a plane. Because it's only a couple of meters from the ground, crashing is less of an issue. If it loses power, it just lands back in the sea. No need for airports or runways, so it's perfect for fast, low-cost travel between islands. It sounds like a perfect transportation solution.
This takes us back to crafts that the Russians built in the 60s that used the same effect. Now, it was a novelty then. They thought it might change the world, but it never really did.
Turns out that wing-in-ground vessels often create as many new problems as they solve.
Moving at these low altitudes at very high speeds can have disadvantages because it makes it very hard to evade obstacles, like a ship or a wave coming the other way.
The main difficulty with wing and ground effect vehicles is that they have the speed of an aircraft, but they're always flying only a few meters away from a solid object, which is that's not a position you'd want to be in an aircraft, ideally.
But perhaps the most difficult issue facing Airfish is the wave size it can safely fly over.
Airfish is quite a small wing and ground effect vehicle. She can't operate when the waves are very big. She's limited to, I think, about just over 1 meter wave height, which corresponds to sea state 3. And actually, it's relatively common for the seas to be higher than that. So there's only a certain amount of the time she can operate.
It's why the Airfish could one day ply its trade as a high-speed ferry for harbour crossings, or for island hopping over calm waters. But there's one vessel that's made for rough seas.